Good to vach, everybody. So I'll tell you a Maisa. You know, they say a Maisa that there was a group of Chassidim of the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, and nothing out of the ordinary in particular, but this group of Chassidim, it was a while since they've seen their Rebbe, and so they decided to go on a trip, on a pilgrimage to go visit the Tzaddik. And it was, again, a regular time of the year, nothing crazy going on, nothing crazy in their lives, but still, they wanted to go visit the Tzaddik. So they come in, and each one of them is given an appointment to go have yichidus, to go speak with the tzaddik. And each one goes in, very nice, and the way it is, and you go into a tzaddik, and you come out from that audience of the tzaddik, so you're full of simcha and sort of lighter from all of your woes and all of your baggage. And so each chassid goes in and comes out, Baruch Hashem, tzufrieden and happy and lichtig. One chassid goes in and comes out with a very sort of seemingly even more heavy and more burdened. And so his friends turn to me and say, Yankel, why do you look so, like what happened in there? You look so intense. And so he says, I can't talk about it. Okay? So he goes his separate way, and he's not seen for a few days. Not much a few days, he just like slips out of town, goes somewhere, no one has any idea. All of his chaverim, all of his friends are thinking, like, what happened to Yankel? He mamish disappeared for a few days. After a number of days, this Yankel reappears. And when he reappears, he's lichtig, he's smiling, he's happy, the way you should feel and should be seen as you come out from the tzaddik's room. And so now his friends say, Yankel, Baruch Mechayim Esim, like what happened? You were gone for a few days. Like, well, what's the story? So he said, okay, now I can tell you the story. When I first came out of the office from the Tzemach Tzedek, I couldn't tell you. I was too overwhelmed by what happened, but now I can tell you the Maisa. He said, when I was by the Tzemach Tzedek, so the Yechida started off as usual. I was telling you about, the past year, and in Yonim that's going on in my family, and Avodas Hashem, and we're talking. And all of a sudden, the Tzemach Tzedek has a look in his eye, and he turns to me, this Yankel says, Tzemach Tzedek says like this, he says that in a certain town, relatively nearby, a certain place, there's the Paritz, the landowner, the mayor of the town. And this particular Paritz, all Pritzim were like this, but this one in particular was a big anti-Semite, giving the Yidden over there big tsars. The Tzemach Tzedek told me, he said, but you should know that Paritz, even though he acts like an anti-Semite, the truth is he's a Yid. He's a Yid who, whatever the reason, whatever his history was, he went off the derech, and he went off hard. He became a Paritz eventually, and mamish making the lives of his fellow Yidden miserable. But the Tzemach Tzedek told me, he said, but I'm sending you on a shlichus, I'm sending you on a mission to go to this Paritz, and you're to tell him in my name that it's time for him to do tshuva. So Yankel hears this, and this is what he's telling his friends. He said, I hear this from the tzaddik, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm mamish being sent to the lion's den. I don't know this person. I'm not even from the town. I'm only here with the rest of you guys, just stam to visit the tzaddik. Like, why am I being sent like this? And so the Tzemach Tzedek picked up on my hesitation, and the Tzemach Tzedek said, no, I'm telling you, this is what you have to do. It's your shlichus. Go tell this Paritz that it's time for him to do tshuva. So Yankel said, I mustered up the strength to finally at least express my concerns. And he said, Rebbe, I'm going to go there. He has wild dogs and animals. I'm going to tell him such a thing. He said, how am I even going to get into him? All of his officers and policemen and guards, how am I even going to get access? So the Tzemach Tzedek told me, he says, the Tzemach Tzedek said, what you have to do is very simple. You go, and when you get to the palace and the mansion of the Paritz, and you see the guards coming to you to ask you who you are and to see if you're on the list of meetings and so on, which you're not. So you have the following kavanah. And the Tzemach Tzedek told me, Yankel says, he told me a certain name of Hashem, certain letters of Hashem's name, that I don't know what this means, Yankel says, I have no idea, but he said, have it in mind at that moment, and you'll see, you'll be able to get in. And with that, the Tzemach Tzedek sent me on my way, and the Tzemach Tzedek told me, you go right now. Don't stop anywhere, don't schmooze with anyone, you're going right now to that town, and when you fulfill the mission, then you come back. Okay? So that's why he came out, he said, and I didn't even have a chance to talk to you. I had to go on my mission, and I was very concerned about it. That's why I seemed a little bit overwhelmed. So his friends say to him, so what happened? So he says, I'll tell you exactly what happened. When I got there, it was exactly like the Rebbe said. I got there, and I see the mansion, and I see the guards, by the entrance, and they see me approaching, so they come to me to see, like, what I'm doing. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, like, what am I going to say? And so I remembered the name of Hashem that the Tzemach Tzedek told me, and I had that in mind. And without saying anything, without even doing anything, the officers and the guards, Mamish, just escorted me to the front door. And more than I'm thinking about this name of Hashem, and now they escorted me. They send a message to the pirates that someone's here to see you. They Mamish made all the arrangements for me. So I'm sitting like this. I think, okay, it's pretty good, and I go there. And I'm shaking like a leaf, And the pirates comes in. It's a scary sight. And he says, "Who are you?" And I start stammering. "My name is Yankel, whatever, and I'm not even from this town." So he says, "What are you doing here?" So he said, I was sent by the Tzemach Tzedek that the Tzemach Tzedek has a message for you." And so the pirates all of a sudden begins to stand up straighter. And he says, "What is it?" He said, the Tzemach Tzedek said that I should tell you that it's time to do tshuva. And with that, the pirates began to shake. And the pirates said, okay, let me thank you for saying the message. Let me see what I can do. And with that, I left. And I came back to the town over here. Okay. Now, meanwhile, while Yankel came back to the place, to Lubavitch, where the Tzemach Tzedek was, to get back together with all of his friends, and they're going to go back home. Meanwhile, and now his friends begin to put the puzzle pieces together. There was a mysterious person that just showed up the previous day in the town of Lubavitch in like tattered clothing. No one recognized him. No one knew who he was. And it was just like a mysterious chassid that came, and he was just sitting in shul day saying Tillim and crying with bechiyas and so on. And everyone sort of like wasn't sure how to is this a person that's not healthy, not well, and he's just showing up there? Is he one of these hidden tzadikim? And at the same time, people also began to talk about a rumor that the pirates of this particular neighboring village just disappeared, and everyone in town and the government, the whole system of the shtetl over there is in sort of a shtickle disarray because the pirates just up and ended. And so now these Hasidim hear the story from Yankel, and they begin to put the pieces together. We have the disappearance of the pirates from that town, and the appearance of this mysterious sort of somewhat beggar that's just saying Tillim all day in shul, and they figure, they put it together, that's the pirates. Okay. And so that now, the Maisa of Yankel being the shliach of the Tzemach Tzedek to bring the pirates back to the tshuva spread like wildfire throughout the town. Everyone heard about it. So later that night, when everyone was talking about this Maisa, there was a group of elder Chassidim that decided to go into the Tzemach Tzedek to ask him a question based on this story, this event that happened with Yankel and the pirates. They were very disturbed about something. So they come in with a whole chevra to the Tzemach Tzedek, and they say to the Rebbe the following complaint, and they say, Rebbe, everyone knows now the story that happened, that the Rebbe sent Yankel to the pirates of this town for him to do tshuva, and Kachava, he showed up. No one knew at the time who he was, but now we all know who he is, and he's doing tshuva. And so the Rebbe is doesn't say anything, okay. So he said, but Rebbe, we have a taina, we have a complaint. What's the complaint? He said, if the Rebbe's koyach is so strong that the Rebbe can make someone do tshuva with just a sentence, and not even a sentence that he says directly to the person, a sentence that's sent to the person through a shliach, then our complaint is, then why is the Rebbe not making us all do tshuva? Like, why are we sitting here? Why does the Rebbe tell us to do tshuva and we'll do tshuva? That's the complaint. So Tzemach Tzedek says like this. Tzemach Tzedek said to them, he said, listen, if you have a shepherd, and this shepherd has a huge flock of sheep, so it's a lot of sheep. So when the shepherd is going to focus his attention on any individual sheep, he can't focus on every single individual one. It's just too much. There's not enough time today. There's not enough energy. He can't. So the shepherd has to make a decision. His decision, therefore, is, it's logical, that those sheep that can handle themselves, they have to take care of themselves, and the shepherd will just oversee the general flock. But if there's any individual sheep that are straying away, that are weak, that are too weak, or injured, or whatever, and they can't take care of themselves, then those are the sheep that the shepherd is going to have to pay personal attention to. Otherwise, that's the only approach that's reasonable and that's likely. Said that Tzemach Tzedek is the same thing with me, with all the tzaddikim. The amount of energy and attention that it takes to with a sentence change someone's heart to do tshuva, I don't have the kaiches to do that to every single individual Jew. But therefore, what my decision is, and I have no choice, is that the collective whole, those Yidden that are able to take care of themselves, and it might take a long, it might take a while, so then I oversee generally. But those Yidden, those sheep, Nebuch, that are falling away, that don't have the strength to do tshuva themselves in any way, those are the ones that I have to be matapel with, that I have to deal with individually, and go out of my way to go be makar of them. That's the Maisa, that's what the Tzemach Tzedek said. Nu Chavra, in the month of El, it's a whole inyan of El, like the Baal Tanya already said, it's famous from the Baal Tanya, that the inyan of El is Hamelch Basada, right? The Rebbeinu Shloim moves out of his palace to go into the fields of chaos, and the fields of abyss, and the fields of our smallness, to go greet us and to be makar of us, to bring us back to him. It means that in our and specifically in our generation, the Avodah of El, we have to remind ourselves that every single one of us, we're mamash a lost sheep. And the Rebbeinu Shalom has no choice. Kiviyachal, he has to pay individualized and personal attention to each and every one of us, because we're not strong enough like the earlier generations to do tshuva ourselves. We need the Rebbeinu Shalom to be makar of us, and that's what the month of El is. Hashem reaches out to those lost and wayward sheep, those sheep that Nebuch need the extra chizuk and extra help. And guess what? All of Klal Yisrael is like that right now. So no, Hashem should bless us that he should be that we should be zeicha for the Rebbeinu Shalom to extend Kiviyachal his hand to bring us back to do tshuva and be makar of us, b'sefer panim yafis, in a way of yamin mekareves and even small mekareves, and we should be zeicha to experience that. And with that, a week full of simcha and geula and yeshuas and nechamis on all levels would be exalted. Tzadikim meher v'yimeinu. Amen.